Hi, Ian Roberts and Mastering Composition. This is a sort of a celebration for me because this is week 52 of my YouTube channel. I've been doing it every week for 52 weeks. This is number 52. And one of my students sent me a bottle of champagne and I was going to uncork it and drink it as celebration right on the video. But it's 9:30 in the morning and I have, certain rules about drinking, we could say. And 9:30 in the morning is a bit early. I'm still having some studio work, some shelves put in the studio, so I'm not back in the studio yet, at least for filming. And somebody mentioned to me about how come I've always got telephone poles in my paintings and why I use them. And usually, if you look just a few feet to the left or the right, there's usually a road next to the telephone pole. And I like roads and telephone poles for the role they play in the vertical engagement of the picture plane. And you could say of Mr. Morandi, how come you keep painting those bottles? Well, I don't know why I keep painting roads. I like them. And maybe I always want to go someplace. But they really, for me, create a very strong engagement, the vertical and the horizontal in the picture plane. Now last week I also mentioned there was a 17-minute video you could go to my website and watch, but if you're already on my email list, it wouldn't allow you in, which was what was making me think about this, because it's about the horizontal and the vertical engagement of the picture plane. So next week, I'm going to try to find a link for that, and it'll be on the email that you get. You can just watch it from there. You don't have to go through my website and not get in. So last week, we were looking at this image, and I was analyzing it for structure, and I did this drawing. So today, I'm going to do a block in, and then the painting. It's a 10 by 12 painting, and the list of colors on my palette are down below. Now, the idea before you begin to paint is always what I am sort of emphasizing. Get an idea of what's going on. And this diagram here is pretty much what the painting is about. Bands of light and dark, bands of warm and cool color, bands of shadow and light. And in its simplest form, you could say it's like that, the idea that's on the back of a napkin, or the 30-second elevator pitch, or the thumbnail, the roadmap of where you're going to go before you begin to paint. And when you want to create sunlight, you need to take these families of warm, light colors and dark, cool colors and keep them apart. And that way you start to get some sense of sunlight on things. And if you look at the photograph again, you can see that I've exaggerated, as you see me paint it, exaggerated those bands of light and dark. So that becomes the thing that I want you to notice in the viewer, for the viewer. It's not that I'm copying the photograph. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end. So from that drawing, I'm going to start just blocking in very simply in big shapes. And normally when I'm working small like this is 10 by 12, I wouldn't be doing this. I would just kind of block things in and fix, kind of get things organized and kind of working as I go. But I just wanted to show you blocking it in simply with some turpentine, so just sort of flat shapes. And not sort of adjusting edges and showing, any detail whatsoever. See, this is just the big shadow shape in behind the sunlit trees. And you see, I've just chosen one color, a dark, cool green. And I'm just blocking it in. There's no sense of, here's one tree, here's another tree. It's just going to be the background. You'll see when I do the painting that I'll adjust it a little bit. But for now, I'm just thinking of it in terms of the big shapes, and do they work together? There's no point in getting everything organized on the little trees here if the big shape is the wrong color or all the shapes together don't even work. So I'm just blocking the whole thing in, and you'll see by the time I've finished, you'll have a pretty good sense, or I'll have a pretty good sense of like, okay, this can work, this is worth working on. So here I'm just putting the lighter grass colors still in shadow on the side of the road. And then you know, again, just shapes, right? There's no detail. Tall grasses, it's just a shape, you know. I mean, the top edge is maybe a little soft to say that the tall grasses, you know, do that as they come up into the tree. But just right at this point, is this color and this shape going to work in terms of the whole image? And now I'm putting a light, warm green against that background of the cool dark green. We're starting to get a sense like, oh, okay, this could work in terms of sunlight. And because it's the midground and closer, I'm sort of getting the indication of different colored trees in here. But again, a little bit of turpentine, thick enough so you don't see although you'll see actually when I show you the finished one, the finished block in, you see the canvas showing through quite a bit actually. But it's just sort of washing in the big shapes. And when this layer is done, then there'll be a sense like, okay, this works. I think this painting's worth continuing with, or this is maybe where the problem might exist. Now I'm just sort of putting in those things at the top, which are going to be the center of interest, or the pull from foreground to background, the bits of information back there. And there's the finished block in, and you can see, even putting it in that simply, and you can see how thin the paint is. It's sort of, you can see the canvas underneath, but you can see the bands of color masses of light and cool and what's happening, and you realize, oh yeah, okay, this can work. So now next I'll show you how I painted it in. So now I'll start painting it in. You can see I'm using Dioxazine purple and Alizarin crimson and Phthalo green to get a really rich dark in there. And you see I'm just painting sort of the shadow shapes in there and implying that there's a bunch of trees, right? There's no detail there. And you can see as it goes in, it gets darker often because, you know, now I'm covering up the canvas entirely. The paint is thicker. And look at the color of the shadows in each case. When it crosses the grass, when it crosses the road, when it's on the pale grasses. Different color in the light relates to the color in the shadow. And there I'm just pushing a dark into the bottom of that green shape, and we get a sort of a sense of the entire tree. Here I'm going to the lights. There's white, cad yellow lemon, cad yellow deep, yellow ochre, touch of orange, and I'm getting that nice, rich, sunlit, warm green. Now you can see there's different variations of that, but they're all going to be sort of in that warm arena on one side of the palette. Now I'm going for that really light color. I don't know what kind of tree that is, but it's surprisingly light. Looks sort of almost like an olive. And then here again, rather than painting the darks, I just paint the darks sort of in reverse. And then really clean separation of warm colors and cool colors. I'm thinking here. But really clean lines so that shadow runs across the grass, the road, and then the grass again really cleanly so that they're lining up. So this is the sunlit grass, right? You can see the shadowed grass, the sunlit grass, and it's lighter, it's warmer, and you can just see it's just sort of, but it's still just shapes, right? I'm sort of more attention to edges, you know, I'll flick something here and there like that. But for the most part, it's still just shapes. Now I'm pulling us up into the background, pushing the light. And there's the finished painting. I mean, you can see the color shapes have been modulated and adjusted. But for the most part, they're exactly the same as they were after the block-in. They've just been sort of orchestrated to be more interesting. But all the work of what the compositional structure was, what the block-in was doing, what the drawing was doing, what the block-in was doing, and now the finished painting, you can see how each one came out of the last. So if you enjoyed that, please do like it. Subscribe if you don't subscribe, if you haven't subscribed already. Please do sign up on my email list to receive this on Tuesdays automatically in your inbox. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.